how this entire ecosystem of skill development mission you have created for the country.
A country of our size needs both quality and quantity, everything. We have seen how the entire world is looking at India, alternate destination for the manufacturing supply chains, right? And where skills is a very, very, very important. When I quit Tata, I became a part of the government machinery, that's the National Skill Development Corporation. We were skilling just about 10 lakh people per annum. So in last 15 years, it went up and now it's almost 1 crore plus people through the government scheme. These short-term skilling programs like Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, a lot of ministries have these small programs, where training is virtually offered for free, right? No fees charged from the student.
How, your vision of a prime minister and the goal of the country, how did you align those? How was your experience leading this particular mission?
It is not an endless window of opportunity. We have to treat Skill India mission as one of the most important missions of the country. I believe I contributed a huge value and I would like the mission to succeed, because it's very, very important. India has the capability, as the Prime Minister keeps saying.
भारत के नौजवान के पास भरपूर क्षमता है, उसको अवसर मिलना चाहिए, वो किसी भी चुनौतियों को चुनौती देने के लिए सामर्थ्यवान होता है.
Industry has to start paying premium to skilled people. Most of them still pay the same compensation what they pay to unskilled people. So you have to start giving premium and compensation to the people who are skilled. We have to have the satisfaction of having traveled well on that path. If we succeed as a country, nothing like it. Even if we don't fully succeed, it's not a battle lost.
नमस्कार दोस्तों, लॉजिस्टिक्स शक्ति के पॉडकास्ट चैनल में आपका एक बार फिर से बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। जैसा कि मेरा आपको प्रॉमिस है, कमिटमेंट है कि लॉजिस्टिक्स शक्ति में हम आपको हिंदुस्तान की ऐसी हस्तियों से मिलवाते हैं जिनसे हम पर्सनली कुछ सीख सकें और जिन्होंने लॉजिस्टिक्स सप्लाई चेन और उसके बियॉन्ड वर्कफोर्स और उससे रिलेटेड अपनी कंट्री के लिए, अपनी यूथ जनरेशन के लिए डायरेक्ट कंट्रीब्यूशन किया हो। उनके यहाँ पर आने से, उनकी लाइफ से, उनके एक्सपीरियंस से और डायरेक्ट इनडायरेक्ट इन्फ्लुएंस से हम क्या सीख सकते हैं, आप क्या सीख सकते हो, यही हमारा मोटिव रहता है। तो उसी सीरीज में आज जिनसे मैं आपको इंट्रोड्यूस करा रहा हूं, ही इज वन ऑफ द लीडिंग टेक्नोक्रेट ऑफ इंडिया हु हैज known as a father figure of apprenticeship reform in the country, who has led directly the initiative of Skill India mission of Prime Minister of India, who has successfully led this mission, and he initiated and led one of the large corporation, which is NSDC, National Skill Development Corporation, in the capacity of CEO, Executive Director and CEO, and beyond this, he is active in a certain global forums, and currently he is helping business leaders to transform their organization in his unique way, which we will get to know through him itself. So help me welcome to Mr. Jayant Krishna ji in our today's podcast. Thank you very much, sir, for taking time for today's podcast.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being with you.
We really welcome you. तो आपका जो प्रोफाइल है इतना लंबा है, जब मैं गो थ्रू कर रहा था लिंक्डइन पे और डिटेलिंग में, इतनी सारी उसमें डिग्रियां हैं, इतना सारा एक्सपीरियंस है कि मेरे को वो एक्सप्लेन करने में टाइम भी लगा और फिर भी हार्डली 20% में एक्सप्लेन कर पाया हूँगा। तो आपसे ही सुनना चाहेंगे आपके प्रोफाइल के बारे में, कैसे इतनी बड़ी जर्नी आपने ट्रैवल करी in your career life and the professional career, and apart from this, how this entire ecosystem of skill development mission you have created for the country.
So, as far as I as a person, as far as I am concerned, bulk of my career has been with the Tata Group. I had joined their management consulting practice, early 90s when there were a lot of economic reforms that happened in the country. A lot of MNCs were coming and knocking the doors of India. They wanted to have an environmental scan done, or they wanted to have market entry strategies. That time, the big four consulting firms were not there in the country.
During 90s?
During early 90s. They were not there. Their accounts and audit wings were there, but not the management consulting.
Consulting was not there.
So Tata's had set up this practice, and I was a management consultant. I worked for them. In fact, I joined them. And then later I made it transition.
So you started from Tata TCS?
So this was actually housed as a division in Tata Sons, and TCS was a natural movement. After some time, what happened? This management division, consultancy division, was merged with the main software division of TCS, kind of a thing. So that's how I moved there, and we worked on a lot of World Bank funded, EDB funded projects, a lot of MNCs who wanted to explore Indian market. They wanted a lot of consulting inputs. So we worked and we did some real good stuff those days. And then I moved on to TCS and full-time in their software division, and lots of things like a typical project leader, group leader, program manager, group leader, then the business head, regional manager, business relationship manager, all kinds of roles I have done there. But few things which I'm really proud of are when I was the regional director in UK and Ireland for 3 verticals. When I went there in the group of verticals that I had, there was only one major customer, and when I left, there were 8 strategic clients that which got acquired and serviced.
That was in Ireland.
That was in London.
Okay.
For UK and Ireland, both. It was a combined geography. Kind of thing. From an Indian perspective, what I'm very, very happy is that passport seva transformation that you saw.
Correct,
right?
I have seen.
So I'm sure you have been to a passport office when it was completely managed by the Ministry of External Affairs, and now it's a treat for people to go and get out of the center flawless in 30 minutes time, right? So that transformation, the software development for that transformation happened in a global capability center that I headed in TCS at that point of time, and at my behest, it was done at that center. So I'm very, very proud of that. Did a lot of other work, e-governance.
That's itself actually a game changer. Even an unknown layman, even illiterate person goes there, he himself can get through the entire process of a passport.
Absolutely. So that I did. I was also the director for the life sciences and healthcare, head of their Europe operations and so on and so forth. So multiple roles. I headed one of the global capability centers of TCS. So multiple things I did. And but what happened, what changed the course of my career's trajectory was when the late C.K. Prahlad from University of Michigan came to India under a mission called India at 75. So he wanted to evangelize that what kind of country we would like to have when independent India becomes 75-year-old in the year 2022, which went by 3 years ago. And he did number of things. He said, we need as many patents. We'll need as many Nobel laureates. We'll need as many skilled people, as many doctorates. Multiple things he said. And if you really ask me, he didn't do any detailed research project. It was more of a back of the envelope kind of a calculation. So one thing which he said that we'll need 500 million skilled people, as a part of his study.
So for us, Mission 2075. The skilling was
India at 25.
India at 75.
Which would have become fully operational by the year 2022, when independent India would have become 75-year-old. Yeah.
So the 500 million people, skilled people, was a requirement.
That was the target, which was
the vision has been given.
Correct. Okay. So that led me there, and I started on behalf of TCS. I started interacting with him, and the CII was also very active. The report was almost accepted by the then Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, and then what happened? As luck would have had it, TCS's former CEO, Mr. S. Ramadurai, he was picked up by the then Prime Minister as his advisor. He was given a cabinet minister's rank. Mr. Nandan Nilekani for Aadhaar, Mr. Ramadurai was picked up for skill development, and he pulled some of the people from different Tata companies whom he knew were passionate about skills and education. So I was one of them, and he gave us a lot of freedom to operate, and he said that unless we reform the space big time, changes will not happen, kind of a thing. So among other things that I had an opportunity to work were apprenticeship reforms, which you just mentioned.
I was just about to come on there. So how you got into the Skill India mission Particularly in which year?
This was in the year 2011. I got into it. My interaction with CK Prahlad started before that, but so I did not join Skill India Mission in 2021. I was paid by Tata's in an informal secondment mode. I continued to work,
contributing towards
that. Almost 70% of my time I was spent on skill development portfolio. Working out apprenticeship reform, the National Skill Development Corporation. The constituency model of skilling, which later became, the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Kendras emerged through that. Lots of RPL, recognition of prior learning. The STAR scheme was born, which later took the shape of Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. So a lot of those things we did while I was not officially a part of the government, with Ministry of Human Resource Development at that point of time, which is now Ministry of Education. We worked on, what do you call it? This vocationalization of secondary education. That how do you take skills portfolio to schools? Right from class 9 onwards. So I think multiple things I did, and then as luck would have had it, when the CEO and CEO of NSDC quit, this was in the year 2015. And at that time, the government requested the Tata Group if for the interim period they could deploy somebody senior into that role, because it was that's an organization of national importance. So the recruitment cycle would have taken anywhere between 6 months to 1 year, and such an organization could never have come to a grinding halt. So they deputed me, and later I joined them a few months later. I left Tata's and joined them.
Joined them as full-time?
Full-time, that's right.
So it was
even during deputation, I was full-time. But technically, I was paid by Tata's, But when I quit Tata's and joined them full time, it was completely. I became a part of the government machinery. That's the National Skill Development Corporation.
So, how do you currently see the entire Skill India or skill ecosystem in the country? You have been, very deeply engrossed and involved.
So, I think a lot of good things have happened. To be fair to the government. In the sense that, before the Skill India mission, or I would say, let's go back to almost 15 years ago, all government, skilling initiatives were largely confined to ITIs and polytechnics, if you look at. There was nothing beyond that in the name of vocational education, And we were skilling just about 10 lakh people per annum, right? So in last 15 years, it went up, and now it's almost 1 crore plus people through the government scheme.
The last 15 years, 10 lakhs to 1 crore. This is a 10 times, 10x.
It's 10x increase, And it was a combination of both long-term skilling, short-term skilling, I think. So if you ask me, are we creating perfectly employable people, these 1 crore people? My answer would perhaps be no, But the fact is, India is a country of our size needs both quality and quantity, everything together, right? Kind of a thing. So, we have seen during the pandemic how the entire world is looking at India, as an alternate destination for the manufacturing supply chains, right? And where skills is a very, very, very important part of the journey. If we want, IT industry has shown to the world, right? Where almost half of the entire outsourceable IT and IT-enabled services universe is happening in the country, either through the captive development centers of the likes of Google's and Microsoft, or by the Indian companies, right?
Many outsourcing, and currently GCC is one of them.
Correct. That also creates value in the country, gives employment to the country. They don't bring people from there, or very few people from there. Most of the people are Indian people working there. So I think a lot of things have happened. The way it could happen in IT industry, why can't we do? Somebody has to evangelize. Somebody has to look at that. Why can't we do, let's say, in carpentry? Why can't we do this for gems and jewelry? Why can't we do it for leather? Why can't we do it for construction industry? So I think we need more dreamers, for that to happen. For example, IT industry, the software of Indian IT industry, Mr. F.C. Kohli, I think people have to have that kind of a vision, that yes, we can have a global footprint. So I think if you really want me to assess, a lot of good things have happened, but there are also some cracks here and there.
Yeah,
and
since such a huge quantity, there could be a certain area of improvement always remain there.
Correct. Correct. So one thing which I feel very, while these short-term skilling programs like Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana or Deen Dayal Upadhyay Yojana of Ministry of Rural Development, or lot of ministries have these small programs, where training is virtually offered for free, right? I mean, no fees charged from the student, right? And on a per trainee per hour basis, the government directly or through government agencies, training partners are reimbursed that amount, right? So while it has helped increase the numbers and it has also resulted into employment, may not be for as many people as the dream was, but for a sizable number of people. But somewhere it has also cannibalized the quality training market, a fee-based model, right? Where a training provider sets up state-of-the-art facility, state-of-the-art machines, very, very good instructors and faculty, and then the cost goes up because all these things don't come for free, right? Then you put a delta for your margin and then charge the fee so that to make the entire business model viable, So I think that model somehow got cannibalized because of these free government schemes,
So I have seen your, suggestions or your logic that those freebies should not be there. It should be diluted, or it should be industry driven,
right?
Or largely industry driven, or the intensify the industry's role into it.
Correct.
How do you really picturize this? What is your thinking about it?
So I would think, see, industry. Let me tell you, Indian industry does absolutely world-class skilling. It's second to none, not to Japan, not to Germany, not to UK, not to Switzerland. It does it.
But everything has happened on job.
Exactly.
On job. Recording and documentation is not there.
Yeah. For the people that they want to recruit themselves, right? For their captive manpower, everything is process driven, documentation is there, everything is there, right? Kind of a thing. But those numbers are small, right? So what they
how to scale those numbers, how to duplicate those numbers,
and to go beyond employees to the community at large, right? You can do a world-class job for your employees. Why not extend it to the community? And there, some models have to be worked out where government incentivizes the industry to do that. See, government by itself will not know whom to skill, how to skill, what to teach, what not to teach. Now, like, for example, Industry 4.0 technologies are there everywhere, right? But how much skilling is actually happening there, right? So there's a gap which is there, right? So I think the more and more we'll have industry's role. And for private skilling, the government free program kind of a skilling, I would really recommend a movement away to a voucher-based system, where governments makes available vouchers to people at the bottom of the pyramid, and they have a choice. So what will happen, then the students will go to those places which offer quality training, rather than get swayed by the salesy efforts of the training providers, or it's close to my home, therefore I do that, So I think, see, India is a country where 1 million flowers have to bloom together, kind of a thing. You need a government scheme, but we need a far greater industry play into the training, into the skill development, area. That's very, very important,
So very good. I mean, making industry intensifying into it is very important, and making it a demand driven rather to a supply driven.
Absolutely.
So currently, probably the lot of supply we are creating, we are chasing the mission of maybe 1 crore numbers to be trained. So this is good. 10x growth is good, but the kind of employment and kind of the supply is already remaining. How to make it a demand driven? So the natural compatibility can be there.
Absolutely. Post my years in the government, I also worked for a Silicon Valley based nonprofit. And we worked on reforms which are required to create jobs in the country, right? And eventually a presentation was made to the Prime Minister, and he took keen interest in that, right? So I think you're right. When you say that, purely from a supply-driven approach, we have to create demand and have captive centers for demand existing in different parts of the country. See, even today, there is no assessment of demand, right? Some skill gap studies were done almost 15 years back, 10 years back. But, I think these have to be revisited, right? The kind of industry which is coming to you today is different. The kind of technologies required for people to be trained on are very different from what was 10 years back, 15 years back, right? So you have to, I would think there has to be a machinery either through consulting firms or government's captive machine, which has to do this complete assessment of demand all the time. And then do training consistent with the demand in the area of interest and so on and so forth. Rather than, I feel we need 10 plumbers, 5 electricians, 7 draftsmen, and that kind of an approach, So,
Got it.
So I think we have largely India has traveled the right path, kind of a thing. But some course correction is very, very important, because let me tell you, this is one of the largest manpower development exercise ever taken by any country in the history of mankind, right? So some mistakes are bound to happen. But whatever are the learnings, whatever are the best practices, whatever are the lessons that we have learned, I think those have to be plowed back, and some course correction needs to happen, and that's very important.
So as a mission is important, as a need is always there.
Absolutely.
So we have to deliver, as you mentioned. That's more important. Your vision of a prime minister and the goal of the country, how did you align those? How was your experience leading this particular mission?
So when I was with NSDC, it was a very, very important part of the Prime Minister's Skill India mission, undoubtedly. We had a few opportunities of meeting him also. I think I was very comfortable with Tata's good compensation, everything. I took not many people know that I took a cut. Substantive cut when
Of course, when you come to the government, it cannot be same.
Although NSDC was a
fancy
public-private partnership, so we had scales which were better than the government, but still not as good as Tata's, So,
but you are giving a larger impact for the society.
I think, where on earth you get an opportunity to work on apprenticeship reforms which result into a new act of parliament? Where do you get an opportunity to contribute to the national skill development framework, which is ratified by the union government? And while with Tata's, and given their CSR footprint, and the fact that still almost 2/3 of the profits of Tata Group do not go to the Tata family. They are plowed back into nation building, into a lot of philanthropic activities and so on and so forth. So that somehow changed my DNA also, right? And so I think some of my very close friends said that what a blunder you are committing by going to the government, right? Moving away from your comfort zone. But कैफी आजमी साहब की एक नज़्म है ना, कोई तो सूझ चुका है, कोई तो सूझ चुका है, कोई तो जिम्मा ले उस इंकलाब का जो आज तक उधार सा है. So I think that is what I took a plunge, and I'm happy. If you ask me, was there an absolute satisfaction? I would say no. Yeah. But where is absolute satisfaction?
Mission had to be completed.
Yeah, mission had to be completed. So ongoing journey. For the few years that I contributed, I believe I contributed a huge value. And I would like the mission to succeed, because it's very, very important. India has the capability, as the Prime Minister keeps saying, has the capability of becoming the skills capital of the world, talent capital of the world, but it would not happen. This entire, story about the demographic dividend, right? It is not an endless window of opportunity, right? Yeah. See, now our population growth rate in different segments in different parts of the country has actually is going down. It's still growing, but the growth rate has gone down. And perhaps in 15 years down the time, after 15 years, the population will start shrinking, So this is not an endless, we have to treat Skill India mission as one of the most important missions of the country. Sometimes I also get, my lament is among Make in India, among various other missions which are there, Startup India, it has lost the sheen.
छुप जाता है,
कहीं छुप सा गया है, तो उसको फिर से rejuvenate करना है. डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह के टाइम पे, मिस्टर चिदम्बरम के टाइम पे हुआ था, और प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी ने 2014 में इसको एक नई जान फूकी, बिकॉज नई मिनिस्ट्री क्रिएट करी, फंडिंग वेंट अप, But now again, that mission has to be rejuvenated, and
next level has to be
next level of capability and maturity. It has to go there, rather than it, going through the cracks. I think that's very, very important.
Probably, here I would like to, bring the topic like you mentioned, the technology has created a very large service export for the country. Similarly, international placement and skilling into the international, global level requirement of the manpower, because this is our, liability, and this is our asset, the young youth people. So how to make them employable internationally beyond IT? IT people are looking at for the India, but beyond IT, we have a huge number of population, young population. So yeah.
I think what we need to create, it's a very valid question you've asked. What we need to create is a right now we do training based on national standards. This qualification packs and national occupation standards are for India, right? We have to develop similar packs which are transnational, For example, let's say if you do it based on a lot of countries, see where people from India go, a lot of people go to Gulf countries, right? And they work there, right? In different categories of
from
jobs.
Decade they are going.
Yeah.
Largely they have been a labor requirement. We were feeding them.
Yeah. So I think if we train people on not just on Indian standards, but on transnational standards. For example, in Gulf countries, many of them may not have their standard, but they follow the British standards, almost blindly, So can we start training people with those standards? In fact, when I was a part of the government through as NSDC, we started these India International Training Centers, kind of thing. I think again, but somehow I feel that the focus has somewhere got diluted. We need to rekindle, that focus and, because that's very important. Because what will happen, right now, for example, let's say a driver, right? A driver does not go to Middle East as a driver. They go as a helper, a cleaner of buses. And
clearing the driving test and driving in the Middle East
is so difficult.
It's very difficult. And once if he can clear it and become a driver, his life is set.
So that right from day one when they go, they lead a life of dignity. They earn more, and therefore they repatriate their savings to India, right? I mean, it creates employment opportunities, So I fundamentally believe that, given the population advantage, given the fact that English is a common denominator in our country, I think almost in a lot of major areas, like IT, India can seize opportunities all over the world, and make the country proud.
I strongly feel if we have to make skilling as a aspirational for the youth or the students or upcoming, generation, then international placement and international assignment and international skilling could be one of the area where people get naturally attracted and they get into a skilling.
And the compensation is more, right? They earn
the
more
motivation is
because the salary is in dollar or some foreign currency, right? Absolutely. And those jobs, see, one problem for skill development is also that skilling is not considered to be aspirational in the country, right? We are all to be blamed. If we get an electrician at home, how many of us would offer the electrician a sofa to sit on,
This is the most important aspect.
How many of us will serve tea or a coffee in a regular crockery to that electrician, If your spouse is, kind enough and the guy has been slogging for a couple of hours, perhaps you'll serve tea in a crockery which is a discarded cup which is chipped off, right? I mean, this doesn't happen in any other part of the country. They are as much a part of, your value chain as any other profession, right? So I think skilling will also become more aspirational as more and more people get jobs, not only within the country, but abroad. I think that's very important. Our approach towards skilled people has to change, How many of us, if somebody brings a cup of, a glass of water, even bother to say thank you, right? I mean, and still it's not that everything is fine with the industry either. Industry has to start paying premium to skilled people over, while industry cribs that we don't get adequately skilled people, right? But when they get, because of demand and supply imbalances, they still pay the same compensation, largely, barring a few in the industry. Most of them still pay the same compensation what they pay to unskilled people. So you have to start giving premium and compensation to the people who are skilled. All these things have to happen. Our attitude towards skilled people. I mean, look at our handloom, handicraft sector. Where in world, such beautiful carpets are woven? Where in world such beautiful silk as in Kanchipuram or in Banaras get woven, And many of those weavers, next generation, they're not going into that profession, right? Because they don't see their parents earning well and doing well in life.
Doing well in life is one thing. And the dignity of this particular,
Exactly.
The treatment of those people, right? Few seconds before you mentioned.
Absolutely.
And how we are treating them and how we are respecting them.
Absolutely.
How them making them, at par with the common people.
Absolutely.
That's more important.
Absolutely.
So let's come on the I have, national education policy. How can, what is your thinking about it? I mean, you also suggested somewhere that apprenticeship, for a 6-month apprenticeship for the undergraduate or maybe the, graduate program should become a compulsory. And I have seen few universities, particularly the university I have seen, because my own company demand has come for if you are going to complete your graduation, so the next 6 months you have to go for an apprenticeship. So can you just elaborate this subject where the student itself going for any stream they are going, but they are going for an apprenticeship in the different companies?
Yeah. See, the best training model the world can think of happens not in the US, not in China, it happens in Germany. Okay. Germany, in what they call as their dual system of training. So what happens, some kind of a campus recruitment for training happens when you are in class 9 and 10 itself. And after class 10, 70% of Germany does not go for the university degrees. Mm-hmm. They go to these industry-run training institutes, why they call it dual? Because almost, if it's a 5-day in a week you are trained on, almost one and a half day is a classroom training where some theory is explained. Rest of the time, they are actual shop floors or allied shop floors set up by the industry for training of people, and they soil their hands and learn the hard way, kind of a thing. And therefore, the quality standards of Germany are such that very few other countries can still match, right? Look, go to their motorways, even if you keep a cup of coffee, not a single drop will get dropped, kind of thing. So I think German standard, and the system which is closest to the German dual system in our country is the apprenticeship training,
Yeah.
But apprenticeship training has had a lot of problems in the past, they were very, very old, obsolete laws like, you'll go to jail. If somebody in some corporate violates the provisions of the law, you can be sent to a jail. Whole lot of things. An apprenticeship advisor or an inspector comes and tells you how many apprenticeship slots you are allowed to give, kind of a thing. So all that I had an opportunity, thanks to Mr. Ramadurai, I had an opportunity to work on those reforms, and finally a new act of parliament. I was also the chairman of a committee set up by the then Ministry of Labour and Employment for apprenticeship. And so a new act is very, very industry friendly. All those things have happened. But since you linked it to the new education policy, see, in a 3-year undergrad degree or a 4-year undergrad degree, right? There should at least be a 6-month window for people to go, where there is no curriculum to be taught in the university or in the engineering college or wherever, right? They have to go to the industry and work and slog. I'll just compare between a BTech program, computer science program, and MCA program. In BTech, typically there is a 2-month window for training. Now, software development life cycle is such that 2 months is a very, very small exposure, right? Whereas for MCAs, when entire last semester you actually do in the industry, which is a longer, almost a 6-month window, Therefore, the employability of MCAs is even more than engineers, kind of a thing. So similar thing for anything that you do, your degree should not be considered complete unless 6 months you have had an apprenticeship in the industry, in government, in banks, in whichever organization, and learn the hard way. And industry will also be willing to provide those opportunities because you learn and also contribute to their...
Something at least you're contributing.
At least something to the industry, right? Kind of a thing. In 2 months, people look upon apprentices or interns as a few monkeys on my shoulder, right? Oh, abhi hain, chale jayenge, that kind of a thing. But for 6 months is a critical time. They start contributing value also, and they learn more. So I think the new education policy has a provision towards that. But a lot more has to happen on the ground. Otherwise, new education policy will remain a statement of intent, So I think that has to start happening big time. Even skill development program for state boards, vernacular boards, even if you leave aside the creamy layer of schools, but remaining schools, why can't this be a stream right from class 9 onwards, so that by the time they do class 12, they become expert in gardening, or they become expert in carpentry, or they become expert in clay modeling. Some skill you teach, either it's a...
You mean to say the employability skills has to be developed through the schooling itself?
So I'm not talking about employability. Employability will cover later.
Okay.
Right now I'm saying that, suppose you have 5 subjects in your high school, right? Can one subject be a skill-based subject, So that, from class 9 till 12, right? You learn one skill. So your employability, what you're talking about, automatically will happen after you're done class 12, right? And since you talked about employability skill, employability skills in this country have to become an integral part of the curriculum from class 9 onwards, because we have very huge gaps and shortages in the learning outcomes, right? People who have not had a very privileged upbringing, lot of people from poorer families, bottom of the pyramid family, how would they become employable, right? They have not seen that in their homes, in the schools that they went to, right? So you have to package. We did that as a part of Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, even the years I was in government, right? So in anything that you teach, it's a BA, it's a class 9 program, class 12 program, it's a engineering program. Employability skills have to become an integral part of that learning, so that our people, long time back in the erstwhile Planning Commission, I was a convener of a study on how do you increase employability. And to our utter surprise, we found that, only about 10% of our graduates are employable. And if you look at the creamy layer of graduates, I'm talking about engineers and MBAs, barely 24%, 20 to 30% are employable, right? So you have to, don't blame through a prism of timelessness, right? That you're not employable, so nothing will happen. You help them, right? They do not come from privileged backgrounds. You have to help them. किसी को तो जिम्मेदारी लेनी है उसको पढ़ाने की, सिखाने की, ये तो कैसे होगा, राइट? और ये एक ऐसा मिशन है, if you keep working, keep slogging, right? I get reminded of Faiz Ahmed Faiz की एक गजल है, उसका एक स्टैंजा इस तरह से है, he says,
लखनऊ का पूरा इम्पैक्ट है आपके ऊपर.
तो मेरा होम टाउन लखनऊ है, and I'm proud of that lineage. So I think उन्होंने कहीं पे कहा है कि गर अगर को हम लोग उर्दू में अक्सर गर बोल देते हैं, तो गरबाजी इश्क की बाजी है. और ये इश्क इज नॉट रोमांस, दिस इश्क इज पैशन फॉर समथिंग, राइट? गरबाजी इश्क की बाजी है, जो चाहे लगा दो डर कैसा, गर जीत गए तो क्या कहना, हारे भी तो बाजी मात नहीं. So I think we have to have the satisfaction of having traveled well on that path, right? If we succeed as a country, nothing like it. Even if we don't fully succeed, it's not a battle lost, because a lot of people you've pulled up the value chain, right? Kind of thing.
Great. So what is this now? We are just coming back, taking the advantage of your knowledge. This industrial technical 4.0. What is this? Some, word, the new norms of the industrial technology 4.0. Some policies.
Industry 4.0.
Industry 4.0, correct.
Yeah, so Industry 4.0 technology. This is a loose term given, for artificial intelligence, Internet of Things.
Technology-based training.
3D printing, a lot of these technologies, which are new generation technologies, which didn't exist 10 years back, kind of a thing 15 years back. A lot of training has to happen around that, right? See, during COVID, as we saw, a lot of countries were thinking that, you shouldn't be laying all eggs in the Chinese basket, right? At least when you expand, you should look at alternate manufacturing destinations. And India was a very, very preferred location for that, right? But one gap which MNCs, because one of the roles which I did later was I was also the first Indian Group CEO of UK-India Business Council, which is a bilateral economic ties body between these two countries. So a lot of British companies, at least, they were keen. And later, as a part of CSIS also, there was a lot of interface we used to have with the US companies also. They were keen and they knew that India is a very good destination. The only two things which came in way was one is skills. They felt that, these kind of people who are trained on Industry 4.0 technologies, there's no critical mass in our country. That was one. Another is, of course, they wanted a greater regulatory certainty in the country. So basically whatever regulations of the government, the policy regime which is there, under which they took a decision to put in FDI in the country, after they have put in the investment, and the manufacturing plant or a service sector plant has, office has become operational, then midway the rules of the game can't change and policies can't change. They want a regulatory certainty.
Has to be there.
Yeah. So these two things, and I would add only one thing, the ease of doing business also has to improve. It did improve. It used to be 120 something. I think the Prime Minister took it as a personal challenge. It improved to 63rd. But it's not important, because if we are the fourth largest country in terms of GDP today, right? Why shouldn't our
ease of... aspirations are so much.
An aspiration is to become the third largest in next 2-3 years time, right? So I think there's we should
63 position will not help.
Will not help. We should, if not in top 3, we should at least be in top 10 countries. factories,
least,
right?
minimum.
You know, so I think if these three things happen, I think more and more investment will come to India. I'm very hopeful and very upbeat about India, and a lot of good things have happened. Look at how much in defense, right? How much of, initially people used to think, oh, how will make in India happen? But many investments
When you start,
came.
things start happening.
PLI, PLI has helped, right? I mean, today, India is the second largest manufacturer of Apple iPhones, right? Samsung, the largest manufacturing facility for Samsung is in Noida.
Noida itself.
Yeah, where we are recording this interview, right? So I think a lot is happening. I'm very hopeful for this country, but we should be open for self-criticism. If we are always as a nation in a celebration mode, everything is hunky-dory, we have become Vishwaguru, we have done great, we are God's gift to mankind, then we'll not improve, right? See, this fourth largest GDP is okay, but what is the rank on GDP per capita? What is the rank on Human Development Index? I think we have to be bothered about. I feel good that the Prime Minister Narendra Modi has talked about, at least has shared an aspiration that we will become, a developed country by the year 2047, by the time independent India becomes 100-year-old, right? Absolutely. But is that aspirational good enough? We have to have a very robust roadmap, right? How do you improve our per capita income? How do we, move up the value chain in hunger index? How do we improve, human development index ranking? How do we put more money as a part of our GDP, as a part of budgeting exercise for healthcare? Healthcare, for example, we spend just a little over 2% of our GDP on the government, the expenditure on healthcare, both federal, state government of India and state government put together. This has to double, right? Education and skill development is just about 3%. I'm not including the private sector investment. The government investment is 3% of the GDP, This also needs to be doubled, Infrastructure, we are not that bad. It has become almost 4%.
That is visible now.
That's visible. And, wherever you go in the country, you see a country in the making, dams, highways, flyovers,
Highways is such a way, every, 10th time, next month you go, you suddenly discover a new highway.
Exactly. I was in Bombay last week. Suddenly in the entire coastal area, there's a new, plethora of, So I'm very hopeful, but we have to be open for self-criticism, right? That, and then only we'll improve.
That is only will give us a scope for a course correction. Yeah, absolutely fine. So another very, large asset and then potentially value unlocking for the skilling, it is basically ITI, right? So now ITI sector, what is your suggestions? How this entire ITI institutes can be a part of a entire skilling ecosystem?
I would feel there used to be earlier a system of public-private partnership. World Bank funding was also there in that sector, where you used to get a private sector ITI chairman, and then things used to improve. Very rarely it worked. It worked only when there was a very good private sector chairman, a good private sector company, who did not take up an ITI to improve their CV, but they really wanted to give back, and a good principal. If you don't have this combination, it never worked. And then there was no teeth with this management committee chaired by the private sector kind of a thing. So now a new scheme Government of India has brought out, which has given more teeth to this. But I would recommend something more radical.
Yeah, that is what we would like to hear.
You just hand over these ITIs to the private sector through a transparent process, right? They will do a fantastic job. Let industry run ITIs. Today, if you look at ITIs, still, almost 25 to 30% teachers, instructors positions all over the country are vacant, right? Trades where the teachers and instructors are not trained on, they are forced to teach a trade because there are vacancy, there are students in that category, right? Yeah. Hands-on machines are old. Employability skills, were also introduced in ITI, by the way. It's not that government did not introduce, this government introduced. But, what is the quality of teaching of employability skills which happens at ITI? It's barring a few exceptions here and there, it's not as good. I would feel government has to completely vacate that space, and they have infrastructure, they have physical assets, everything has to be handed over to the responsible industry. And then government can fund that in terms of getting students free or subsidizing their fee and things like that. That can be done. But running of ITIs should not be with the government. I think those are very, very important instruments for skill development, for especially the long-term skilling. anywhere between 1 year to 3 year kind of a time. I think industry should run it completely and government should withdraw.
How about PPP, a public-private partnership, for different state skill missions? They operate in this PPP model.
So for example, like Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, or let's say Deen Dayal Upadhyay Yojana, or Hunar Se Rozgar Yojana, these kind of Government of India schemes. Yeah. Most of the state government was also, most of the state governments also have their own training partners. Many of them are common with the central training schemes. And those are also free schemes. For students, they are free schemes kind of a thing, right? But unlike National Skill Development Corporation, which is run in a public-private partnership mode, state missions are still run as a government entity, right? So you have to infuse private sector and industry blood into their running and the work culture. I think that change has to happen on the lines of National Skill Development Corporation, which I think was an idea ahead of its time and very, very good, that you have to mix and marry government and private sector, right? Similarly, the state skill development missions should also be run in a public-private partnership mode, to my mind, to enthuse that energy and so that they don't become very government-like in the way they are run, they're managed. I think that change, which is very, very important. And same thing applies to the state governments also. If you offer something for free, it cannibalizes the fee-based quality training market, right? So I think somebody has to have a fundamental relook. Maybe for a couple of years, when you introduce this change, our numbers will fall. But it doesn't matter. But when they'll eventually go up, there'll be top quality skilling happening anywhere. I think that's very, very important. I'm very hopeful. The current minister, Mr. Jayant Chaudhary, is a London School of Economics graduate himself, and I've had a couple of meetings with him. He's quite upbeat and open to ideas. I hope change would happen. Yeah, things would change. Yeah.
So let's change the topic a little bit. How was your leadership journey happen in the different form? The CEO of particularly the National Skill Development Corporation, how you created the entire processes and the culture around to build this organization?
See, one thing, when I joined, there were about 45 people in that, right? We knew a mission as important as that will not deliver unless you have people, So by the time, I left, there were close to 275, or I don't remember the number, maybe close to 300, definitely 250 plus people. And we got people, recruited people from the best in class organizations all over to create that bandwidth for delivery, right? Before NSDC, the state skill missions also didn't exist, right? I remember Mr. Amadurai and some of us used to take the Tata plane and go and meet 2 chief ministers per day.
The same day.
And tell them that, look here, if you want the demographic dividend to happen to your state, you have to pick up. See, the state skill development missions were not there, but departments or whatever used to be, generally there used to be a disgruntled IS officer who used to be given a punishment posting there, right, kind of thing. We told them, if you have to do that, you have to pick up the brightest person, right, and give him or her a tenure continuity, right. That's very, very important. And then we also said, you have to set up a state skill development mission. The current departments, in the way they were, which were helping ITIs and all that, were not enough to look at do the delivery for new generation skill development programs. So that started happening big time. At NSDC, since your question was for NSDC, so we recruited, we had set up NSDC's offices, small offices, without creating a lot of government type of overheads in most of the important state capitals also, because you have to work with the state government, you can't do it from Delhi, so that technology was a very, needed, something managing these kind of numbers. You can't do without a technology backbone. So that we strengthened. Sector skill councils were very, very important entities because they were the representation of private sector, the industry, into the government system of formulating qualification packs and national occupation standards and so on and so forth, doing assessments and so on and so forth, right? We created, as I say, 2.0 model where they were rejuvenated, they were made more accountable, and a lot of changes were brought in, right, kind of thing. Apprenticeship was not handled by NSDC itself, but all the, the optional course apprentices apprenticeship, we got under the NSDC fold, because we wanted the apprenticeship to take a quantum leap, At that time, NSDC also part of it worked like a development bank in terms of giving soft loans to people who wanted to set up skill development. Yeah, exactly. So we came up with different models. Industry, the private sector, the industry participation, we took it to a next level of maturity. Whole lot of Tatas, ICICI Bank, different very best-in-class companies we brought into the NSDC fold and made them training partners and made them expand, kind of a thing. Of course, this journey is never complete. The more you do, the more seems to remain to be done, kind of a thing. It's a long journey. We need passionate people in this sector, with fire in the belly, with a never say die attitude, just keep doing, keep working, and mistakes will happen. Let me tell you.
Yeah, that's a part of life.
If you do 10 good things with good intentions, 2 will go wrong.
Absolutely.
But the government has to have the honesty to shield those people who were genuine and they committed 2 mistakes. Because otherwise you create status quo, do nothing, हाथ पे हाथ धर के बैठ जाइए, कोई mistake नहीं करेंगे आप, right, kind of a thing. So you have to look at that, and you have to get people from private sector through lateral entry. If you really wanted to,
they can bring changes.
They can bring changes. They are used to a different work culture, different velocity of decision making. I think that's very, very important.
So what currently you are doing, sir? You mentioned in between. Just elaborate.
So, currently I'm the senior fellow for the Center for International and Strategic Studies, which is a Washington, D.C. based think tank. I'm a senior fellow there. So I think one is that keeps me busy, but not like a job, not like a full-time basis. What is keeping me busy is, a lot of organizations, if you look at both private sector organizations as well as for-profit organizations, non-profits, I help their leadership team. I work with their leadership team as a mentor, as a coach, for a breakthrough in their performance, right? Kind of a thing.
Breakthrough performance.
For breakthrough in their performance, right?
In their performance, get the point of a breakthrough.
Correct. So I don't dabble into the strategic areas, right? Assuming that the strategic intent of the organization is largely in place and largely correct, right? But a lot of organizations where people don't give their 100%, right? People may be capable, may not be capable. If you're not capable, then of course, you can give the delta training and development inputs to them. But if you're capable and if you don't give your 100%, because you feel the work culture is not there.
You have a skill, but you don't have a will.
You don't have a will, right? So how do you create that will? It can't be done mechanically. Or a lot of organizations where there's good standalone performers, but they don't deliver as a team. The team dynamics becomes very poor, right? Kind of a thing. So I work with the leadership team, and you'll be surprised, it's not a training program. For 3 days, for example, from 9 in the morning till 9 in the night, we are together. We go do some role plays. There's not a single PowerPoint slide, not a single laptop is not even taken there. Everything is interactive. A lot of role plays, exercises. You can say some games through which they make their own inferences, right? So what happens if somebody preaches? It's like a rainfall on a slopey roof, right? Nothing sticks. It just flows down, right? But if the mistakes are realized by them, right, then that absorption is lifelong, So
the entire leadership group together comes for a point.
That's right.
Or 1 or 2% only.
No, 1 or 2 will not work. Okay. I don't do. There have been. I get some offers, where CEO says, "Yeah, it's important to do. Let's do it." Okay. But I can't be a part of it. I will not be able to get 2 to 3 full days. I said, sorry, sir, I'm not doing it, because unless the CEO is involved in that change process, change will not come. Just employees and the leadership team is also very, very, very bright and intelligent. They understand if the CEO is not aligned with that process, it won't happen, right? So in a very big corporate, I may do it for the division also, not necessarily at the apex level, but the leadership of the entity that you have defined has to be involved, and they have to give that kind of a time. And I've seen a huge amount of transformative changes happening in people. I used to do it earlier with Tatas. Earlier in my career, I worked with a gentleman called Anand David. He on these kind of things, I think he's largely been my guru. And and this journey, I'm very, very happy. It's such a hectic thing. It tires me, and I'm on my toes for 3 days from 9 till 9 in the night. But it actually, instead of tiring me physically, it energizes me, kind of a thing. What brings value is the change people go through, right? In their life and their careers. And not just that people go through the change and the values delivered to the organization. They become better individuals.
Yes,
they
for
become
themselves.
better spouses. They become better fathers or mothers,
human being, it's
better
more
human
important.
beings, right? Kind of a thing. And I think I see a lot of value, and the feedback that we get after the workshop, immediately after the workshop, after 6 months, 1 year, you have to see it. I don't want to be in a self-congratulatory
Seeing and
mode.
believing, and you observe yourself and you go through that process, then only you'll realize.
Absolutely.
So I think we are really thankful to you, sir. We had a very wonderful session. I'm sure this entire podcast and this, largely your last session of, 3 minutes, what you are contributing for the leadership and the transformation for the various organizations is going to be real learning for the people. Thank you very much once again for making this possible for Logistics Shakti. And any suggestion you would like to give to us, to Million Mind and Logistics Shakti, it is more than welcome to you.
No, I think logistics is such an important space, right? I mean, as they say, if you double the speed, you triple the economy, right? So I think, which is, another, I told you about 3 reasons why a lot of investments are not coming to India. One reason is also our cost of domestic logistics within our Indian geography is one of the largest in the country as a percentage of the product value or the cost of production, right? Kind of a thing. I think we need to go down now with the entire nation connected with highways and so on and so forth. Still, there are pain areas here and there. But as those get addressed, perhaps the cost of logistics will go down. And it's a very, very important sector, ignored by successive governments for far too long. But I think I see a renewed interest in it, a lot of interest in it. And I hope you succeed in your mission, and the country succeeds, because the country needs that. So
Thank you very much, sir.
my pleasure.
Thanks.